What's up, football fans? Welcome to another fantastic episode of Controlled Chaos. My name is Nick Ciamarra, and it is Sunday, March 11th, which means we got free agency coming up, the draft is near, trades are happening, money is getting thrown around like a Miami strip club, so a whole bunch of chaos to talk about on today's show. But first, I would like to recognize one of the greats, Jim Kelly, a Hall of Fame QB, retired Buffalo Bill, two-time cancer survivor. Unfortunately, oral cancer has returned to him. Cancer is a tough son of a bitch, but if there's anyone who can beat it 3 times, it's Jim Kelly. The entire football community is pulling for him, and I wish him and his family the best in this difficult time. So the Browns have made quite a few trades these past few days. They're looking to win some games this year, so some real exciting stuff is happening in Cleveland. They traded this year's 2018 4th round pick and a 7th round pick in next year's draft to the Dolphins for wide receiver Jarvis Landry. The Browns have also traded this year's 3rd round pick to the Bills for quarterback Tyrod Taylor. Also, they have traded quarterback DeShone Kizer to the Packers for cornerback Demarius Randall. And lastly, they have traded former 1st round pick defensive tackle Danny Shelton to the Patriots for their 3rd round pick in 2019. I gotta say, I like these moves a lot for Cleveland. Last season, they finally get back Josh Gordon. Now they have Jarvis Landry, another young talent on defense in Demarius Randall, an average to above average QB in Tyrod Taylor, and 2 top 5 picks in the upcoming draft. So what could go wrong? If the Browns make the right call, Tyrod Taylor will most likely be the 29th quarterback to start for the Browns since 1999. And Saquon Barkley will be their first pick. Then, you'd think after that they would take a quarterback. Right now this team is sitting in a position where they can quickly turn around all this losing, all this negativity, and they could turn it around real fast. Do I think they will? No. Because even if they do draft Barkley and let's say Josh Rosen, these guys still need to get comfortable operating during live game situations. Yeah, practice helps, but you could look lights out in practice, then win 0 games in the regular season. That's just how it goes. Mark my words, Cleveland will win at least 4 games next season. So yesterday, the 49ers signed cornerback Richard Sherman to a 3-year, $39 million deal after he was released by the Seahawks on Friday. And thankfully, that video from 2013 of Sherman talking about Michael Crabtree after winning the NFC Championship has resurfaced. He's no longer the best corner in the league, and the Legion of Boom era has officially passed, but he's still one of the best corners. Before Sherman got signed, he said he wanted to go to a championship contending team. And this 49er team is looking damn good right now, finishing last season with 5 straight wins and having Jimmy Garoppolo under center. Even though this offense looked good towards the end, I think they need to surround Garoppolo with more talent. Carlos Hyde's a solid running back, but they need at least one receiver that teams fear, like a T.Y. Hilton or a Golden Tate. At least a guy who can have a couple breakout games and a go-to for Jimmy G. Marcus Goodwin had a good year. He also just got signed a 3-year deal, which is great. But Goodwin can't be your best target. This offense is good, but they're going to need a playmaking, go-up-and-get-it type of receiver for Garoppolo to throw to. Speaking of go up and get it, the Buccaneers signed wide receiver Mike Evans to a 5-year, $82.5 million extension, which includes $55 million guaranteed. And this makes a whole lot of sense. Last year was a bad year for Mike Evans and the Bucs, but he's still one of the biggest and best receivers out there. And this team can bounce back next season. There's no doubt about that. And this will certainly affect how much a top receiver can expect to make in years to come. Next year, Odell Beckham's contract is up, so there's no doubt he should expect a deal like this come time to re-sign. Let's get into some trade talk. So on Wednesday, the Seahawks traded defensive end Michael Bennett and a 7th round pick in this year's draft to the Eagles in exchange for a 5th round pick, also in this upcoming draft, and wide receiver Marcus Johnson. To me, this seems very similar to the Marcus Peters trade that went on between the Chiefs and the Rams. Like I said in the first episode, I think the Chiefs were tired of dealing with Peters, and I think the Seahawks have had enough of Bennett. The guy can be a bit of a hothead, but I feel like a lot of guys on Seattle's roster are like that, and I think that's sort of the culture surrounding this organization. Maybe that's part of why they released Sherman, who knows. Even though it looks bad when you see these guys barking at each other on the sideline, I don't think it's always a bad thing, because these guys all have passion, so they expect accountability all around. And I don't care what anyone says about guys only collecting a check. You have to have passion to play ball at a high level, period. And every team shows it in their own way, whether that's positive or negative. As a Ravens fan, I hear all the time, well, Flacco's got his money and a Super Bowl, and I see him looking like he doesn't care anymore. And that's just wrong. Say what you want about his performance, but you can't tell me Flacco doesn't play with passion. So back to Michael Bennett. I think this might be Seattle's way of trying to change this perceived culture. That's just how I see it. Bennett is clearly a beast at the defensive end position. However, I think this Seattle defense will still be tough come August. Not as tough as they were from 2011 to 2016, but still a top 20 defense at least. On the flip side, Super Bowl champs just got better. The Eagles already have a top 15 defense, and now they add Bennett and cornerback Darryl Worley in a trade with the Panthers, who received wide receiver Torrey Smith. Philly might want to start greasing up those streetlights in October. Good God. So on Thursday, the Titans released running back DeMarco Murray. This is no surprise after seeing how well Derrick Henry played when Murray was hurt last year. I still think Murray can be a weapon for any offense. Just off the top of my head, teams like the Buccaneers, the Giants, the Panthers, and the Lions, and many more teams, I should say, could use DeMarco Murray in their backfield. So the Rams are also making a lot of moves in the trade world. On Wednesday, the Rams traded linebacker Alec Ogletree and 2019 7th-round pick to the Giants for 4th and 6th round picks in this year's draft. And on Thursday, they traded a 5th-round pick in this year's draft to the Broncos for Pro Bowl cornerback Aqib Talib. That's a tough group of corners the Rams have now after adding Talib and Marcus Peters. Also, Tremaine Johnson if he doesn't go to another team. It might be hard to see it now, but I think the Broncos are the real winners in this trade. Because now the Rams have to pick up Talib's contract, which was $12 million. Denver gets a 5th-round pick. They still have Chris Harris and Bradley Roby. And now they have more money to potentially pay Kirk Cousins. On Tuesday, Cousins tweeted, "Next week is officially the first time since 2007 that I'll be choosing where to play football. I'm open to suggestions, #free agency. I still think he'll end up in Denver, but there's plenty of teams that want him. We'll just have to wait and see." I think the Rams trade with the Giants was probably the most even trade made so far this year. I say that because Alec Ogletree is a good linebacker with a high football IQ, and now he's going to the Giants, who seem like they need some real veteran leadership. I think Ogletree has an opportunity to step up and be the leader on that Giants defense, especially now after they released cornerback Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. According to reports from NFL.com, Cromartie was not willing to take a pay cut, so he was released. I would not be surprised if he got picked up tomorrow or even later today. So one of the most well-known referees, Ed Hockley, has decided to retire after 28 seasons. If I had to guess how many penalties this guy dished out, I would go with around 10,000. Not really, but it was absurd at times. Monday Night Football games were going till 12 a.m. when this guy was officiating. Now I understand that's not all on him, but man, wherever him and his officiating crew went, it seemed like the yellow flag was constantly on the field. Anytime I saw Hockley officiating a Ravens game, I'd think to myself, well, our secondary is going to have at least 5 pass interference penalties, our O-line is going to rack up about 13 holding calls, and at least 3 illegal contact penalties will get called. Unfortunately, at the end of games, these refs either get not mentioned or they get blasted for bad calls, and that sucks, because they're just as important to the game as anyone else on the field. So don't think I hate Ed Hockley or anything like that. To be an NFL referee for 28 years is an incredible accomplishment, and I wish him the best in his retirement. I just think he and the crews he's worked for threw the flag too many times. So the Steelers are still 100% avoiding getting LeVeon Bell the money he wants, so they handed him the franchise tag once again on Wednesday. And I get it, most running backs are like a rich guy's golf clubs. If they're good, they'll keep them a while, but after 3 to 4 years, they're going to be pretty banged up, so then they'll probably get rid of them. Over time, Bell has shown that he's debatably the best back in the league, with his ability to rush and receive consistently, his power to run through defenders, and his unique running style. that goddamn Chris Collinsworth never shuts up about. Over these past couple of years, he's also been injured quite a few times. Meanwhile, the Steelers also have James Conner, who they drafted out of Pitt, and this guy looks like the future in the Pittsburgh backfield. I have no doubt that LeVeon Bell can continue to dominate for the next 4 years or so, but that's way too big of a risk for Pittsburgh to make when this guy gets 20 to 40 touches a game. That shit takes a toll on anyone, I don't care how tough you are. I've heard a lot of talk about linebacker prospect Shakya Griffin, and for a good reason. This dude's been going off at the combine, and he's doing it with one hand. According to NFL.com, he's 6'1", weighs 227 pounds, ran a 4.38. He hammered out 20 reps of 225 pounds on the bench press and had a 117-inch broad jump. I don't think I could even get dressed with one hand, and this guy is going to get drafted into the NFL this year. That's impressive to say the least. While all that is cool, he still shows some weaknesses, avoiding blocks, and the reality is teams will pass on him because he only has one hand. But that doesn't seem to faze him one bit. I can already tell this guy's tough, talented, and determined. According to NFL.com, this guy is projected to be a 5th or 6th round pick. All trade, transaction, and combine facts are according to NFL.com, and all of their takes and opinions are my own. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to be notified when the next episode comes out. And if you like this show, be sure to tell your friends about it. Have a great week, everybody, and stay tuned.